Muito boa tarde a todos, bem-vindo aqui à sessão hoje aqui na Fundação Rui Cunha. Começo por falar em português primeiro, também na presença do Sr. Consul-Geral de Portugal e Macau, Dr. Alexandre de Leitão, também da diretora do IPOR, Patrícia Ribeiro, está aqui connosco, o Dr. Angel, do Instituto de Saúde de Macau, a representação dos Serviços de Educação e do Instituto Cultural. Começo por explicar também porque é que a sessão vai ser dirigida depois em inglês e em chinês, exatamente porque hoje também temos presente não só a arquiteta Maria José Freitas, que está aqui connosco para falar sobre o tema, mas também a Sally e o Heyman Chen, respectivamente, da Associação dos Embaixadores do Património de Macau e da Associação de Intervenção dos Estudos do Património de Macau. Portanto, eles, não dominando muito bem o português, optámos por conduzir a sessão em inglês e em cantonês. So I was saying that today, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the session today about the Macau cultural heritage, identity and historic sites. First of all, I want to thank to Rui Cunha Foundation to have the logistic support and continue to support the event with the Associação Jovens Maquenses, or Macau Macanese Youth Association, AJM. And today we have Maria José Freitas, architect, very well known in the field about Macau cultural heritage, and also Sally from the MHAA, or Macau Heritage Ambassador Association, and Heyman Chen, the sister association of the MHAA, the Macau Reinventing Studies Association. Thank you so much for your presence. I will pass the words to Maria José Freitas, because many things can be discussed in this topic, but the most important thing about our heritage in Macau is not only tangible, but also intangible, a very rich cultural background. But today we are facing the important thing is keeping the identity alive in Macau, and especially the promotion of the revitalization of the historic sites in the Macau. So how can we promote the identity, how we can work today, and how can we protect and promote more and even better the Macau heritage? Maria, I'll pass the word to you. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank your association, the youth entrepreneurs, and also the Fundação here that allowed us to be all present. And also the presence of the youth ambassadors for the cultural heritage, which is also a challenge, and it's very good for me to be here with you talking about this. So my talk will be about identity and historic sites in this city, this beautiful city of Macau. First of all, I will say I'm Maria José Freitas. He already mentioned my name. I'm an architect working here for many years already. I'm also a member of ICOMOS, a Shared Built Heritage Scientific Group. Also belong to AIHM, the management society related to Asian architecture and heritage, and so. And I practice for many years. I have some buildings here in Macau. I have in Portugal, also in China, and so my passion, I would say, for heritage is quite long and durable, and I intend to continue it for the future. So to know the things is important to have the notion of history, and we are talking about cultural heritage, identity, and historic sites. So I think it's good just to make a brief introduction. Macau Foundation was in the 16th century, as you probably all know. The year of 1557 is considered by many the official date of the foundation of this city. So the city at the beginning, in 1622, the city was inside the city wall. As you can see, the city wall only faces the southeast area approaching from the sea. So for the inner harbor, the city facing to China, there were no walls. In the right-hand side, you see the wall. You see some buildings already being built since the very beginning, the fortress and the churches, which influenced a lot the heritage in Macau. But after that, the city continued growing and also began the expansion for the outer wards. However, in 1842 and in 1860, what happened in the surrounding area, the Opium Wars, and also the foundation of Hong Kong affected our city a lot. And the government by that time, and even in Portugal, thought about bringing here new governors they sent the governor Ferreira do Amaral in 1849, and by that time started the modernization of the city. And the modernization has to do with the growing the city with new reclamation areas, also building the infrastructures. All the red parts are marked in the right-hand side map is showing the urban development in 1889. As you can see, it was a big part, and it was almost concentrated in the inner harbor area. That was named the Bazaar, the Chinese Bazaar, and it has to do with some areas that we are going to talk later on in this meeting. In the 20th century, Macau had some economic freedom, and many people from China, because in China there was a great social instability, many people arrived in Macau. So we had massive plans to relocate all these people. So new reclamations were done. In the city, as you can see, the difference from the 19th to the 20th century is marked in red in the right-hand side map. And it means that the city almost doubled the size. It's curious, the map is by Cultural Institute. The Negro is the boundaries nowadays. In black, in the center is the city. In the previous times, in red, the addition in this early 20th century. In white, the city as it was by the end of the 20th century, and then the new reclamation area. So as you see, the city is always growing, 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 and by that time was to accommodate the people after the world wars and so on. People in Macau increased and almost doubled for more than 500,000 people. In the right-hand side, we see the pointer. Oh, sorry. Está com o meu pointer. Okay, the point, this green area was the bazaar, was a commercial area, another commercial area run mostly by the Chinese. Here is the administrative area, and also here an area for the related to the, it was for the European, as they say. This is in the map of SIT. By that time, in the 20th century, there was the need to connect the inner harbor to the outer harbor. As you can see here, the inner harbor and the outer harbor. So the director of the public works by that time thought about doing the district, of course, also the governor, and this was also an agreement with the Chinese counterpart. And in red was the road that was built at the very beginning. Here is the city hall, and here in green, the road that was built later. So in 1918, the street was completed. You see in the right-hand side, the road really cuts the urban fabric in this area, which was very concentrated, as you saw in the maps before. You could see in the maps before. Here I show a picture. You see the demolitions in 1908 to open the road, and then the road in 1930, 1935 after being built. So all these things affected this core, the inner center of the city by that time. The people continued arriving, and an engineer, Hugo Lacerda, this map in 1927, showing already the new ideas for the new reclamation areas with the pattern very perpendicular. You compare with the inner part of the city, the inner center of the city here. is very crowded, and all the new areas were really perpendicular ones, very well designed in the map. This was not built, but anyway, it has the ideas that later on were built on site. And this is almost when I arrived, by the end of the 20th century. You see the inner part of the city, the one that is not in the square pattern, and surrounded by mushrooms, like the new buildings. You see the Bridge 16 on top of the Saint-Malo area, and also the wind we don't see in this side. But then it means that all the inner part of the city was preserved, and all around the new buildings start growing like mushrooms, as I used to say. So this is what we can find at the end of the century, the 20th century. And by that time also we had the transition, we had the handover to China, and in the 21st century, after Macau was handed over to China, a new era was inaugurated with the emergence of large tourism and leisure complexes. And what happened by that area? By that area was the gambling liberalization in 2002. And they built many, first of all, they built some constructions in Macau side, in NAP area, and then they start building. The Venetian was opened in 2007, and afterwards all the other ones you can see nowadays in Cotai. And Macau was transformed in a kind of a show city, Las Vegas of the Orient. However, Macau still continues to the inner part, the inner core, very well preserved, because there is legislation to preserve the inner part, the inner center of the city, and it was recognized by UNESCO in 2005 based in criteria based on cultural miscegenation. And also the cultural law in 2013, the Safeguarding and Cultural Heritage Law, is also saying that we need to have a plan for safeguarding and management of cultural heritage. Until now, we don't have this. We have the law, but we don't have the management plan up to now. So already so many years later, so we are still waiting. And this, of course, causes a bit of confusion and a bit of discretionary management by the authorities. However, now we have the master plan of Macau. But the master plan of Macau always say that related to heritage, we need to follow the safeguard plan, which is not yet completed. We have the buffer zone 1 and buffer zone 2. The buffer zone 1 includes all the center, all the city center is this red zone on the left. On the right side, we have the area of the Gia Lighthouse. We have buildings. You all know the buildings. You know the pattern. We know the Saint-Malo area, the Hotel Presidente being under renovation now, and all other monuments are still, hopefully, are still alive and preserved. So what is the solution that the government found to have more people here, more residents, and so on, that they need for the new complex, for the new casinos, is to apply for new reclamation areas. We have 3.5 kilometers allowed by the Chinese government, and the area now is approximately 32 square kilometers. So in here, especially in Zone A, we all know that now it's being built. We all see high-rise. And later on, we'll have 100,000 people. Area B will be more administrative. C and D is not yet disclosed and not yet very clear how many people will live in these areas. Cotai is exclusive for the gambling. It's the gambling city with many casinos increasing, and the number, the Galaxy 1, the Galaxy 2, the Galaxy 3, the Venetian, the Londoner, the Parisian, the Little Europe, as you, for visitors, you can have now. But hopefully, our center is preserved. So this city is in permanent reconstruction. The cultural tourism should play a role more effective, and the government is committed to preserve heritage. But the government has this strong pressure of the gambling and the casinos. The Greater Bay Area is something that showed up recently. We have 9 Chinese cities and the 2 special administrative regions, Macau and Hong Kong. This will be in the future like the Tokyo Bay Area with millions, 80,000 million people will be the GDP, all the numbers, raising all the numbers. But hopefully, we also have heritage. We have heritage, and the government is also trying to include Macau in the Maritime Silk Road, which is included in the BRA, the Belt and Road Initiative. So there's a tentative list to include the cities of the Maritime Silk Road, and Macau is also part of it, which is good for the Macau heritage. The new contracts with the gambling operators that were negotiated very recently have a component, CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility, which is related to the responsibility of those stakeholders with social and cultural situations. And so that means that nowadays the government is working together with the gambling operators to renovate some areas in Macau. This situation is very recent. We don't have yet, we cannot say properly, is it good, is it going well or not. We saw some already. We saw some roads, namely this Happiness Street. I will talk about it later. But we have in the Baja area, we have, this is together with MGM China Holdings. I know that the architects are driving this plan, the architects inside MGM. Some of them are Portuguese, some of them, they know about Macau's history. So they are giving the rules for other architects to develop the project. Later on, this will be followed by Cultural Institute. But there are so many regions and areas, that means that Cultural Institute should have a lot of technicians that need to know exactly what they are doing, but I'm sure they know the Macau's history. But not only architects is people related to history, to archaeology, to lots of things. And of course, there's a component of marketing and tourism related, I believe, to the stakeholders working together. Let's see if the fluxes of visitors can be controlled. I hope so, because if in those areas they start bringing too much people. We have already lots of people, but the people we have now is not yet taking care of this properly. Even the guides are not doing the things properly. Perhaps my 2 other friends in this meeting can talk a little bit about the role of the ambassadors in this situation, because they also can drive the process, or should drive the process. I believe that they should work together with the Macau Cultural Institute. Also be a group, form a group that takes care of this situation, because the situations are starting now, and we need to have a team that also includes Macau population in order to have their opinion. In this, I spoke in the beginning, in this Rua da Felicidade, Happiness Street, Fok Long San Kai. So this road was well known because it was the red district, as prostitution, as the Pei Pa Chai in Cantonese, as lots of situation. And then after after the war. This was considered after the Second World War. Macau government declared prostitution illegal. After that, the road started being with not so many people, not so many visitors and so on. It was the red, and then now it's green. Now is closed for traffic, but still has a lot of history and things, hidden things that is interesting. And I believe that going deep and studying really the history of the site, if you open in the internet, if you search Happiness Street, you find a lot of information. I put here some in Portuguese, in English. Unfortunately, I don't understand Chinese, but there is a theater. The theater, which is really is a monument. It was built after the theater Dom Pedro V, with Chinese opera and things like that. We have some restaurants. Fatsilau was one of the first restaurants I visited in Macau. Also, there is one film, Empire Hotel, in San Van Guest House. So the buildings are still there. There's a lot of potential. And I believe that those actions here and there in the city altogether can be a kind of acupuncture that is used in other cities of the world. It's not an idea pioneer, and then can, in a way, affect, in the good sense, the surrounding area. And with this, having knowledge, having visitors that know what they are visiting, having areas to expose. The big theater could be also a big museum, I would say, to explain the potential of the place. So working together, the government, the stakeholders, the young ambassadors, the population of Macau, population living there, can build, a better environment, the museum in open air, because Macau, in my view, is an open air museum. You can see there the Zhuhai, the area is growing, but Macau has a history. And this is the difference of Macau. So let's make it a valuable situation that we can be rich, can be better for the future. So this is very important. We need to find a sustainable way where quality must be unequivocal and notorious, and we need to preserve it. So this is what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maria José Freitas. It was a very detailed presentation. So my point of view is also, after the Dr. Maria presentation, is even the younger community or the younger generation needs to really understand the past of Macau. And to understand the heritage, you need to know very well the history behind, the identity behind, and what is, for example, the old neighborhoods like mentioned by Dr. Maria, Rua da Felicidade, Sancai, is a district that we also need to know what is behind the past. So when we develop, when we do cultural tourism, I think maybe the tourism or the tourists need to understand very well what is behind the history. So it's like Dr. Maria said also, is an open air museum, and really the stakeholders of the civil society and the government, together with the concessionaires, can work together to make it even more meaningful, and maybe not to lose the characteristics, the unique characteristics of Macau, preserving the identity, the identity which, in my opinion, is also the meeting point of the East and West, the friendship between Chinese and the Portuguese heritage, also distributed in Macau. Before I go with Sally, I want to mention also that because this session also have the direct collaboration with the International Institute of Macau, so the president is also today here. We want to mention that they've done a lot about the publication since 1999. So much about this is only a selection of many books published about the heritage of Macau in Chinese, in Portuguese, and English. This one is Macau, Preservação do Centro Histórico, Património da Humanidade. So since the 2005, when Macau was declared part of the World Heritage, there's many useful material here to be consulted. The Portuguese legacy of Macau is also translated in Chinese. It's also fully illustrated, but it's kept in the Portuguese heritage in Macau. So I think it's a very easy book to read. It's available in Chinese and Portuguese. Going through the streets of Macau, many was written also by Mr. Manuel Basilio. I just bring one Portuguese and Chinese versions, but there's a lot about many, even Tapsec, the Patanli Lao, many, even the families, the Macanese families, where they lived, is also in these books. So and recently we were going deep also in the kids section. So we found interesting to also let the heritage and the festivities of Macau in kids' books. So we enter in the young generation to let them, since the beginning, understand what is Macau. So Sally, like Dr. Maria mentioned, you are part of the Macau Heritage Ambassador Association. You are representing the MHA. I think it's already more than 20 years, right? You're doing a lot, in my knowledge. They guide the visiting or tour visits with the Chinese community, with the young generation, to let them, since the beginning, to understand what is behind the heritage, what's the history behind the heritage. And also they do, recently I've been in a competition. They do also a competition with the students of different schools to debate about the recent situations of Macau and Macau heritage, and let them understand more about the heritage and the history behind the heritage. So I'll pass to you and let them do not only a presentation about MHA, but also what do you think about the keeping, how to promote and to preserve the heritage in Macau. You can speak Cantonese, and Paul will do the direct translation to English. Thank you.
咁一係我先介紹下我係邊個啦。咁我係吳子慧，咁我係嚟自澳門文物大使協會嘅。咁我哋協會就係一個04年嗰陣成立嘅一個非牟利協會啦。咁我哋嘅理念就係愛護文物、傳承文化嘅。咁主要就係都係定位去做翻啲青年嘅教育工作啦。希望以青年為媒介去將呢個嘅文保意識傳去唔同嘅範疇，更加多人去了解呢方面嘅知識嘅。
My name is Sally and I am representing Macau Heritage Ambassador Association. MHAA was founded in 2004 and is a nonprofit organization. Our objective is to pass on the idea of preserving heritage and to pass on our culture. And we want to use youths and the younger generation as a medium to pass on our ideas for the younger generation to learn and to educate them about culture and passing on history and heritage.
咁我哋協會其實嚟到而家接近20年啦。咁我哋已經培訓咗接近560位左右嘅青年去成為文物大使，去進行呢個推廣嘅工作。咁亦都好一部分嘅學員啦，完成咗佢哋嘅課程，學識咗呢啲相關嘅知識之後，其實有從事緊相關嘅文保工作，前線嘅文保工作啦。仲有啲中學生其實畢咗業之後都報讀咗相關嘅科目，甚至有啲學校老師其實 join 咗我哋嘅課程之後，會希望可以教翻佢哋嘅學生一齊去學習呢個嘅文保知識嘅。
Since our nearly 20 years of foundation, we have trained almost 560 members, youth members, and many of whom have later taken part in frontline work that includes promotion of culture. And some of the high school graduate students, after graduating from high school, they have went on to study history in university. We even have some teachers who have, after taking part in our training, went back to the schools with their knowledge to teach these knowledge to their students.
咁我哋協會咧，而家主要都係一啲青年去一齊舉辦唔同嘅活動啦，例如我哋比較出名嘅文物大使啊，做啲夜晚去遊世遺景點嘅一啲活動，咁就同我哋一開始講嘅一個理念就係希望 以青年作為媒介，向社會嘅唔同方向更加多咁樣推廣文化遺產嘅。
We have organized several activities that are targeted at the youth of our society. One of the most famous activities that we have organized recently is the night tour of heritage sites. As mentioned earlier, we would like to use the youth or the younger generation as a medium to promote this idea of cultural and heritage protection to a wider community and a wider audience.
咁講翻好似今日講咗個主題啦，關於身份嘅認同。咁其實我哋作為青年呢一個角度去睇咧，咁其實我哋喺呢個地方度成長嘅，咁我哋一齊經歷住各種嘅事情啦，望住呢個城市一直喺度變化，咁亦都係長輩度傳承咗一啲唔同嘅記憶啊、回憶落嚟。咁其實呢一種係一種身份嘅認同咯，令我覺得我係呢個地方嘅一份子。咁但係其實回歸之後移民嘅數量其實上升咗，咁但係呢一個反而對於而家有一部分嘅年青人對於澳門嘅歸屬感反而弱咗嘅咯。
Now going back to our topic today, identity and recognition, from a youth point of view, what I see is that we all grow up in this city, we all grow up in Macau. And we all have had different experiences growing up in Macau, and we've learned from our own family members different ideas, and we've inherited different experiences or knowledge from our parents. And this is what it means to be a part of Macau. But after the handover, the number of migration and immigration has increased in Macau, and this has actually caused weakened our sense of belonging to this city that we call home.
咁頭先提到嘅少咗，即係其實我哋少咗認識呢個地方嘅一啲歷史同埋關於佢嘅記憶嘅時候咧，咁我哋就會有一種對自己身份嘅迷惘啦。咁其實我自己都係早幾年喺參加協會之後，學多咗呢啲嘅知識啊、文化遺產之後，先慢慢感到原來我身處嘅呢個地方係如此之獨特性，跟住令自己係自豪嘅。咁係。
When we learn less about the country or the place, the city that we live in, there's a bigger loss of identity, feeling of lost of ourselves. After I joined MHAA and became part of the association, I've learned more about this place that I live in, and I have now gained a better sense of belonging to Macau.
咁我哋協會正就係一批有相同諗法嘅青年啦，我哋就覺得應該要一齊將我哋學到嘅嘢一齊推廣出去。咁就我哋都有舉辦唔同嘅活動嘅。咁其實講翻我哋頭先可能六大片區嘅啦，咁可能講到益隆炮竹廠。咁其實我哋搞啲活動咧，都係認為係應該可以回憶到呢個地方。係我哋雖然冇經歷過呢啲嘢，但係其實我哋希望可以體驗呢個地方原本嘅一啲文化啦，同埋有一個好嘅記憶。咁我哋之前其實搞過一個工作坊，係一個笨炮嘅工作坊嚟嘅。咁係由一個氹仔歷史研究學者，即係一個好熟悉路氹嘅一個專家黎鴻健先生啦。咁佢去同我哋講翻佢對於氹仔一個回憶，同埋教咗我哋整一個嘅笨炮啊。咁當我哋喺一個地方，我哋去學習咗佢嘅歷史文化之後咧，我哋再一齊好似製作，好似翻去以前咁，咁我哋對佢嘅記憶就增加咗咯。
We are a group of youths from the MHAA, and we believe that it is important for us to spread and to share our knowledge about Macau and its cultural heritage, and to have a better passion to the city. We would like to learn about the history and to have a direct feeling or experience of the cultural characteristics of Macau. For example, recently, MHAA organized an event where we went to the Yiklong firecrackers factory in Taipa, and we did a hands-on activity to make firecrackers. We had historic. Sorry, I'm lost. We had a historian, Mr. Lai. He has a lot of experiences in learning about and in studying about the history of Taipa. He shared with us the history, the stories, and his experiences of living in Taipa and taught us about making firecrackers. And we had a hands-on experience of learning about living in Taipa and the life that they had that we had never experienced before.
咁正係因為我哋希望傳承呢啲嘅記憶落去啦，我哋舉行咗呢啲嘅活動。咁當大家知得更加多呢啲歷史意義同埋珍貴嘅回憶嘅時候，我哋先會保護呢個地方，繼續將佢傳承落去咯。咁
When we have more knowledge about the place that we live in, it will give us the sense of needing to protect our city and to pass on our history and our knowledge and our culture.
咁講翻啦，我哋係社會個角色，其實我哋嘅角色類似係好似其實係學生嘅角色咯，即係承前啟後嘅作用。咁就好似我哋吸收前輩頭先嘅分享啦，我哋學習再以我哋嘅方式分享翻出去。
The role of our youth or our association is we are actually a group of students. We are here to learn from our teachers. And then we will pass on this knowledge to the later generation, and we hope to continue this work that we're doing.
係啦，咁我哋嘅社團，我哋認為可以點樣參與落去更加多社會咧？就好似其實頭先啲唔同嘅六大博企，佢哋喺呢個六大片區入面嘅活動，其實除咗一啲商業化活動，其實我哋會唔會可以青年社團可以參與入去咧？即係以我哋一個新時代嘅思想同方式，以澳門作為一個舞台去發光發亮咧。
As an association, as a local association, we would like to dedicate or participate more into the protection of culture and heritage. For example, as mentioned earlier, the gaming concessionaries are now taking part in a lot of non-gaming activities and events. Is there a way for youth associations or local associations like the MHAA to participate in these events and to use a new mentality to help promote the culture of Macau?
咁我哋其實都有類似相關嘅活動舉行過，就好似啱啱過去嘅暑假啦，我哋舉行咗呢個嘅夜遊世圍，其實就係一班嘅中學生同大學生一齊，佢哋自己學識咗去了解咗呢個媽閣一區嘅歷史文化，然後以沉浸式嘅表演啦、話劇去呈現俾觀眾。
We've also organized several events, including this past summertime, we organized a group of high school students and university students to learn about the history and culture of the Baja area. And after learning about this area, they would showcase their knowledge through, for example, theater shows and so on, and to showcase their knowledge to a group of audience.
咁好多時候，我哋搞活動嘅時候咧，會遇到啲參加者，可能比較年長少嘅參加者，佢哋反而會分享翻佢哋對於呢個地方嘅回憶。例如我哋有參加者嚟自內港，佢都會講翻啊，佢細個點樣望住內港嘅變化咧。咁然後同時我哋嘅工作人員咧，咁即係啲中學生啊、大學生，同時亦都係一個分享嘅過程中，係佢哋度學習咯。咁
When we organize activities, sometimes we will have participants of a more mature participants. I'm not going to use the word old, I'm going to use mature. So sometimes they will share their own personal experiences. For example, recently we had a participant who shared his or her experiences of growing up in the Inner Harbor area. They shared with us the changes that they've seen and experienced through their growing up. And our younger generation, the students, will learn from these personal experiences that the more mature participants have shared.
咁 咁其實我哋講起我哋嘅身份認證就係一個學習者啦，一個學生啦。咁喺呢度學習嘅同時，亦都好希望有一個機會，例如好似今次嘅綠帶片區咁啦。如果有我哋可以參與喺入面嘅，例如我哋搞活動咁樣，希望唔單止係少部分感興趣嘅人可以參與，亦都希望更多嘅澳門市民啦，甚至推廣出去其他地方人都可以了解我哋澳門嘅獨特性咯。
As I mentioned earlier, we are actually a group of students also, and we would like to participate or dedicate ourselves to not just organizing activities for local residents, but we also hope to pass on our activities to explore a wider audience towards tourists or whoever is interested in sharing the knowledge of Macau culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Sal. I will pass already to Heyman because Heyman is also part of what we call the sister association of MHA, the Macau Reinventing Studies. So we know is more in the research area, right?
Yes.
So Heyman, please share your point of view. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Heyman Chen. I represent the Macau Culture Heritage Relating Studies Associations. I'm sorry about that. My English and Portuguese is not very well, so I need to have. Yeah, I need to talk in Cantonese, but I will try my best in English or what can I try my best to talk in my own opinion. 首先咧我哋嘅會咧嘅其中一個宗旨咧，咁就係love heritage with creative and knowledge. Is our association's purpose
Objective.
Yes.
To love heritage with
creative and knowledge.
Creative and knowledge.
Yeah. As Sally said, they are sorry， 佢哋其實做緊一啲嘅活動啦，俾我哋嘅一啲澳門嘅青少年，咁其實係牽涉緊今日其中一個好重要嘅主題，就係身份認同。
MHAA is conducting a lot of activities for local youths, and it touches on a very important topic that is related today, which is identity and recognition.
As Sally said, that it's so many preparation removed from the China mainland at the 19th century. Even though they haven't known the history or the background of the Macau. So we try to use activity and education to let them know more the history of Macau, to building the identity at this moment. We are trying to doing that. And the identity is built. They know how to protect our heritage. It's our purpose and the activity proposed to do this. So Miss Maria have a very great introduction for the Macau land development and his heritage development. I think if we have a great identity for the Macau, we can have a better protection for the heritage. 譬如而家最新嘅一個綠帶片區啦，頭先Maria 提到嘅綠帶片區嘅合作啦，其實以我哋而家所知咧，政府係no the 個同博企合作，係啦係啦係。以我哋所知咧，而家係冇一個好完整啦同埋清晰嘅計劃嘅。
As Maria mentioned earlier, the cooperation with the gaming concessionaries in the non-gaming factors of reviving Macau and the culture development. At this moment, there is not a very clear guideline of what to do or what the plans are in relation to these activities.
所以我哋係非常之同意係需要更加多嘅澳門人去參與同埋加入喺呢一個嘅方案同埋計劃入面。
That's why we agree very strongly that we need the participation of more local people to the ideas, to bring in ideas on what to do in these areas of activities.
但係喺佢哋有清晰嘅方案同埋計劃之前，而家我哋好強烈地希望可以做嘅就係首先保護好呢一啲嘅建築物同埋呢一啲嘅片區先。
Before there is a clear plan that is announced, what we think is most important is to protect these buildings and these areas. That is the most important that we have to do at this moment.
Miss Maria have an example for the Phúc Long Sân Gai. They are planting so much lighting in there now, but they are 破壞緊 breaking the wall of the building using the
screws. There are a lot of damages that are done to the current buildings or the very old and heritage buildings at Rua de Felicidades because they have to mount lighting or decorations to the buildings.
呢個係我哋唔希望見到。
This is something we do not hope to see to any 任何我諗舊建築都唔想啦，係咪？ To any of the old buildings.
所以喺頭先都有提到就係我哋究竟點樣先可以再引發到我哋嘅年青人去保護到呢啲嘅文物。
So what can we do to encourage or to attract the younger generations or youths to protect our heritage sites and our old buildings?
我希望嘅係可以先幫佢哋製造一個呢一個年代嘅記憶俾佢哋。
What I hope to do is to help them create a memory of this current era.
因為只有嗰個文遺有屬於佢哋嘅記憶，咁佢哋先至會主動去保護嗰個地方。
It is only when they have a memory of these heritage sites or cultural heritage that they will have the interest to protect these sites.
係啦，咁呢個亦都正牽連到就係頭先所講嗰幾個嘅合作，正就係因為要我哋製造呢一份嘅記憶。咁所以先至需要我哋更加多嘅參與夾，咁等到佢製造出嘅嘢係屬於翻我哋嘅年青人同埋我哋。
Just like we mentioned, we want to participate more into the activities that are conducted by the gaming concessionaries. So we have to create this memory and to create their own experiences so that they will have it will attract them to participate in the protection.
我諗我提出嘅一啲回應係咁樣。
So these are my thoughts on today's topic.
Thank you, Heyman. After the discussion from Maria, from Sally, and from Heyman, I think we have the conclusion that the heritage is part of, not of all citizens of Macau, and who really loves Macau. But to protect, how to promote and do this job, and even now with a good intention to revitalize the old historic sites, we must always involve Macau people, right? Macau people under many communities, Chinese, the Portuguese, the Macanese, and also with the help of the government and also with the concessionaires, but to understand once and for all what is behind the history of the walls, and have also the participation of the integration of the intangible heritage, which is also part of the culture, because the intangible heritage is now in your seats, you have a very nice book explaining what is the intangible heritage of Macau. But now with a more large list of the intangible heritage, not only from the Chinese community, but also the mix of the Portuguese, the Macanese. Macanese, for example, I can relate with the Macanese gastronomy and the patois theater, and also the processions when we have all the years. So how we can integrate all these elements in the wall behind and in from the walls. What we all in Portuguese normally we say the pedras vivas. The pedras vivas is the people, right? The people to integrate with the tangible heritage. So to protect the identity, I think most of the audiences have many to say because we have many communities here at the same time, also representing institutions, also the government. I think we now will proceed to the Q&A session. We will accept some questions from you and let the speakers also to express their point of view. Thank you so much. I don't know who wants to say something. Senhor Coutinho.
Inglês, português ou chinês?
Como quiser, depois nós traduzimos.
First of all, congratulations once again for creating this event and sharing with us, Macau people. And secondly, thank you very much for bringing up these experts. Maria José Freitas, she is a top expert on Macau heritage, and I've been talking with her some at a time about other issues. And you both, Heyman and TY, I have a very good connection with all of you, especially. My assistance is also from the Heritage Association, and I know that you have been doing a tremendous work for our future, and especially your future, because you are young people. I have a question for both of you regarding this issue, how we can achieve our goals, because as you said, you have been educating a lot young people about the Macau heritage, and which is very fruitful for our future generation. My question is, to achieve the goals means that you just mentioned Rua Felicidade, and I also have the same point of view because the gaming concession and the Cultural Institute of Macau, they both seems not to have a clear-cut ideas how to maintain, preserve what we have, and how we can attract tourists coming over to Macau to really understand our past so we can really share our views of Macau. So the point is that you need to approach different people that can give pressure to government to accept the views. One of the points is that you need to have many meetings with the relevant entities like IC, IAM, and especially the Legislative Assembly, because legislators represent the people. So I'm sharing you something that besides myself, you need to contact also other legislators to express your point of view, because your association is very, very important. I hope that I can have some information about this work, because just contacting our people may not be enough to reach the goals, which is very important. From my side, there's no problem, because you have your colleague in my office, because I know everything is going on. So once again, hope that you can come more often to Antonio's to share the point of view, because he's doing, and once again, Antonio, congratulations.
Thank you.
I've been coming here, not very often, but anything that you do, I really support you because you are very important for the future of Macau. Thank you again.
Thank you. More questions? É uma outra
Oh, hello. I'm Rita from All Media. I actually have been involved and launched a new media brand, Macau CS Out. I actually quite agree with Mr. Jose Coutinho. And because the nature of my job, I've been constantly working with different concessionaires. And they respond to the cultural heritage, particularly to the project they have to take on to renovate the old areas. I'm not going to name names, but some of them, they actually admit they do struggle. They don't have the knowledge and background to do the projects, but yet kind of like brought into them without choices. So I think, personally, I would think those departments will appreciate someone like you or from your association to contact them, give them insights or advice. I'm sure they will welcome that. That will make their life a lot easier. But I think, secondly, I do have a question. One of the slides actually showed there are like 5 islands, reclaimed islands that the government trying to plan, and some of them have been built. But to my knowledge, I thought one of the island has been, which is Island D, they have abandoned the plant, and that actually kind of like rise up the idea of Himjin neighborhood. So I think primarily to save cost, but the way that the government address it is to protect the coastline between Macau and Taipa, because if they continue to build a reclaiming, particularly for the size of Island D, they will basically, there's no water in between. So I just want to clarify, is that still the case? Are they still going ahead with the reclaimed land?
Maybe I'll let Maria or even Sally or him to respond first, Coutinho. And the last question, I don't know if they have something to say.
I just first for Coutinho. Hello. Yeah, in fact, we are at the very starting point. I understand. I also visited the Happiness Road, Happiness Street. There are some misunderstandings, the one they pointed out, fixing the lights and so on. But all the system needs to be refurbished. You see the cables hanging on the wall, so all this will be refurbished in the near future. This is, I already spoke with people in Cultural Institute. This happens here in this city center, happens in many cities in all the world, because this is the old part of the city. By that time, the electricity was hanging in the posts, the houses, and so on. So all this work will be done in the near future. So we are, as I mentioned in the very beginning, in the very early stages. People, I mean, they want to show something. This is kind of a Parato style. And then later on, they will go deep inside the situations, deep inside the history, and something really more strong will happen, and something more sustainable will happen in the future. At least this is what I understood talking with people in Cultural Institute. In some of the stakeholders, concessionaires, I know some architects working there, already spoke with them. I'm not mentioning names. Some of them I know that they know about history. Some others, perhaps they are not so aware of it, but okay, we don't need to implement everything tomorrow. We have a way. We have a way, and the way is cooperation. And when I mean cooperation, is also to cooperate with the young ambassadors, is also to work together with the other cultural associations and heritage associations in Macau. As Antonio said, it's not only built heritage, it's also intangible heritage, which is so important and supports the built heritage, because built heritage without knowledge, without intangible, will be buildings, will be walls. We need history. We need input inside. So this input needs to be learned. and to be learned. We need young ambassadors. We need your role near the schools. And we need also academy to work together with the Cultural Institute and with the stakeholders. We need CTU, we need USJ, we need Macau University, and must. They have people there, they have architects there, they have people from history there. So I think we need to work together. We have different roles, different specialities, and so let's work together. This is it. I think this is the message. Afterwards, I would like that after meetings like this, we can organize many, but some message should be tomorrow in the newspaper, in Portuguese, in Chinese, in English, pointing out some guidelines. And the guideline is cooperation, not only government and stakeholders, but including population, including the groups. That's it.
或者我回應一下高議員嗰個意見，首先好多謝高議員嘅意見啦。我哋會咧其實而家一直都有即係自從政府開始同博企合作啦，或者而家佢叫休閒企業合作啦，開始咁其實過去係冇嘅，咁係一定係今屆或者係近呢幾年嘅政府先開始一個咁嘅合作嘅。
Let me first just, in response to Legislator Coutinho's message or idea, this cooperation between gaming concessionaries and local associations had just started in recent years. And some people call them gaming concessionaries or leisure corporations, but this sort of cooperation had just started in maybe this past few years.
係啦，因為由過去開始即係申遺嘅過程，其實都係由政府去主導嘅。咁而家開始去同博企合作啦，我哋其實就仲未掌握到佢哋究竟想承擔幾多嘅責任，同埋佢哋嘅諗法係點？呢個係我哋而家未清楚未知嘅。
The application of Macau being part of the UNESCO heritage site was done by the government. So the incorporation of gaming concessionaries or the participation in the protection or promotion of cultural heritage had just started very recently. So we don't know, or nobody knows how much they are willing to do or what exactly their role is in the cooperation or the promotion of these activities.
所以作為協會啦，又或者係一般嘅澳門公民啦，咁其實而家最可以或者最容易做到嘅就係喺政策層面上面去俾意見啦。咁而比較難嘅一開始就去接觸博企。
So as an association or just as a Macau resident, what we can do is to give our ideas on the policies of cultural heritage promotion or protection. It is difficult for us to approach the gaming concessionaries at this moment. What we can do is to give our ideas on their policies.
但係我哋係有嘗試緊嘅，我哋係有嘗試透過文化局啦，或者係同一啲政府部門合作期間，去希望揾到線索或者方法去同呢啲博企去接觸嘅。
We've been trying through activities that are done by, for example, the Cultural Institute or other government departments. When we participate in these events, we are trying to get our message through them, through these government departments on what we can do or what they are trying to do.
另外咧就係我都想講下即係回應下Maria 小姐咁福隆新街，我覺得唔係一個成功嘅例子啦，即係明顯地就係佢而家嘅燈啦，或者係一啲嘅裝飾啦，都係喺一個冇清楚了解福隆新街呢個嘅歷史嘅情況之下擺出嚟嘅嘢嚟嘅。
I would like to also, in response to Dr. Maria's comments with Rua de Felicidades, in my personal opinion, I think it's not a successful event. It's somewhat a failure because a lot of the decorations or the lights were mounted there without any knowledge of the background or history of Rua de Felicidades.
但係其實唔一定係對立嘅，係因為頭先都講到就係我哋可以為嗰個地方製咗一啲新嘅回憶，或者係屬於呢一個年代嘅回憶。咁當然啦，有背景係更加好啦。咁但係如果一個創造出嚟回憶係可以配合翻嗰個地方嘅話，咁就當然更加之好啦。
I'm not saying everything has to contradict. Maybe we can create a new memory for this generation. However, I think if the background or the memories or the knowledge matches the actual history of the area, then it will be a better memory or a better approach to all.
正如就係譬如話點樣去活化嗰個建築物咁，我可以放一間餐廳去活化嗰個建築物。咁依家餐廳喺呢一個舊嘅建築物入面，就會成為市民新嘅回憶啦。
For example, how can we inject some life into this old or older area? We can, for example, have a new restaurant situated in this area. This is how we inject new life or create new memories for this generation in this old area.
所以如果就大概就咁啦。
Yeah, that's my reply.
Thank you, Heyman.
I must say just something. I didn't mean that I agree with what is
Yeah,
done
I know.
I
Sorry.
just say that I don't want to criticize it now because I'm waiting more.
Of
And I
course.
give them the doubt and to build more because this is just okay. It's not expressive. It's,
Yeah, I know it.
Okay, it's just some flowers. Answering to Area D. Sorry, I forgot to answer you. Area D, I believe it's part of the agreement, and I think they are not going to build there because they have an agreement to build more number of flats in Area A, and also there's an agreement at the north of Zone A with the administration, and then they gave up of the Area D, but perhaps this can be a green area. Perhaps at least will be something. And but it's not connected to the ocean park area. So I mean that in the future probably the government will think about something to do there. But one thing that is very bad is that the Delta River is already, you know, with all the reclamations done inside Macau and also on the other side is really very narrow, and this affects the area. And one of the things that should be together, the people in GBA should think about it. They were the factory of the world, and they want to be the best of the world in the future, but they need to think about environmental protection, and not only environmental, also heritage protection, because all the cities, all the 11 cities have heritage to protect, not only Macau and Hong Kong, which have a colonial side, but also the Chinese ones, they have heritage to protect. And
Thank you, Marie. I think the time is quite limited, so maybe we give one more question. Senhor Embaixador, faz favor, a palavra é sua. Pode falar em português, nós traduzimos, não há problema nenhum.
Pronto, alguém fala em português. Queria, antes de mais, não sei se depois António que traduz para cantonês, se calhar, porque
podemos dar o jeito,
somos
sim.
portugueses. Queria dar-vos, como geógrafo, queria dizer que fiquei muito sensibilizado até pela sua última resposta e pela noção do intangível e da paisagem e da leitura que se faz do património, porque o património só por si preservado, como disse, não passa de um edifício e torna-se muito difícil ler, saber porque é que está ali aquele edifício, se não soubermos história, se não soubermos um conjunto de outras coisas. Depois eu faço a pergunta.
Sim. Se calhar a Paula, vou traduzir aqui.
In English?
Não, em
cantonês.
咁我想講翻啦，關於一啲地理嘅情況啦。咁澳門，其實我冇聽到，對唔住。Pode perguntar mais uma vez.
Pronto, não era uma pergunta. It was not a question. I will say it in English. It was not a question. It was just a comment to congratulate architect Maria José Freitas to speak, to voice clearly the question of the reading of a space. Its location is essential. Its history is essential to understand the point. But then the question is this. In my previous life, before being a diplomat, you understand English?
Yes.
Before being a diplomat, many years ago, I was a city councillor, or deputy mayor, I never know, of my own town, which is also a UNESCO heritage town, Coimbra. And at the time, we decided to protect so fiercely the center of town. We became so radical that we just made something happen 20 years after. That was everybody left downtown. Nobody lives anymore downtown. And then, when I look at Macau, we can see very easily a conflict between this vocation to be a touristic center and have the heritage very well preserved for selfies, and then have a lively place for people to live in. But in my very personal point of view, it is difficult to protect without enormous amounts of sums to protect heritage. Or I'm saying in the other way, it's easier to protect it if people lives in it and is fully aware of the regulation and has a full respect for the place they live in. So I would like a little bit to hear your point of view about this tension, this natural tension between having many people, many tourists, and people living in. You know, in Venice, in Paris, in Barcelona, everywhere there is a conflict between tourism, which is the main economic industry of this town, and the capacity of having people living in the heritage sites. So what do you think about this? Because maybe this is, in my very own view, the basis to discuss what should be done. I've been also speaking with some concessionaries, and they really want to have good ideas. But maybe they need some guidance. And maybe this is the first question. What do we want to do about this? Do we know? Not me, I'm just a tourist. But you, about this.
Who wants to start first?
我答少少。其實頭先提到澳門呢個地方同其他地方嘅嗰個差異化，其實非常之大嘅。頭先講到可能佢原本嘅地方係一個之後啲人都比較離開啊。咁澳門係一個歷史城區，但係佢滿係人嘅。咁其實澳門喺呢度出現咗一個好特別嘅差異化，就係同側邊嘅城市或者有關聯嘅城市係好唔同啦。要唔要講啊？咁其實呢個差異化係可能喺其他地方嘅嗰個 policy 同澳門可能唔太一樣。喺澳門其實因為一定係有人住入去會保護得更加好啊，定係其實我哋應該要多啲遊客去關注呢度咧？其實呢個係其實有待係去嘗試，定係因為畢竟澳門係一個頭先提到嘅。佢同其他城市唔一樣咯，佢係一個好密集式嘅歷史城區。咁當一個咁多人住同埋咁多旅客嚟嘅情況下，我哋係唔可以平衡到？其實呢個都係有待去考慮或者之後嘗試。
As I mentioned previously, Macau is rather different from other similar cities. In Macau, in both the heritage sites, we have tourists and local residents. So it's and the density or the amount of people in these heritage sites is so great. I think we still have to explore and to find out what is the best method for Macau, whether to have more local people living in these heritage sites to protect them, or whether we should promote these heritage sites to tourists so that more people understand and have a better knowledge of this heritage sites.
但係無論點，我覺得澳門呢個特殊性同埋呢個差異化，我哋係應該以保護為前提，呢個一定係行先嘅咯。咁之後先可以實施 其他我哋頭先提到嘅一啲諗法或者。
But whatever it is, I think the first and foremost that we have to do right now is to protect our heritage, protect our cultural heritage. And after that, we can explore what are the best ways to keep Macau's status.
May I just add something? Yeah, because I had similar problem in Sintra when I worked in Sintra for the management plan and for the cities, really with lots of population living there in the inner core. In here, in Macau, I believe that still many people living around Saint-Malo and in this area, at least I heard. And then I believe that, for instance, changing, doing the facelift of these happiness roads, happiness streets, you can always have in the first floor T1 typologies or things like that. You can have workshops for students. So this is a work that must be, clearly done and see what are the values of the place, implement workshops, and so I think this theater, the big theater there, is a space with lots of potential. I heard many people saying, "Oh, we don't have space. Doce Papiaçá.
I was going to talk
We
about
don't
this.
space for performing. Why not to use this space instead of being parking area? I saw many cars inside there in the pictures, in the internet. So people need to go there. People need to live there. People can live in the first floor, in the second floor, many houses there that are empty. So it's just a question of balancing. And the government should give some kind of facilities for students to live there, I believe. And this again, input, study, and go ahead.
Marisa, sim. Oh, desculpa. Logo a seguir, peço desculpa, sim. Não tinha visto.
Thank you very much for the talk. I will be very short because we are running out of time. So my question is, it seems that somehow we are forgetting this is UNESCO heritage. So what has UNESCO to say about this? Was it in any time of this process, was UNESCO informed about the gambling concessionaires coming in, doing this part of taking part of this heritage, taking care of this part of heritage and promoting this heritage or not? This was even a public consultation to the population, bringing the gambling industry to participate in heritage in Macau. This is one of my questions. And related to intangible heritage, how much do you think that with this kind of your kind of activities as well, but do you think it's only the youngest generations that are disconnected from the heritage or this identity of Macau? What do you think it happens if it's just because they are, a very transitional population? And I think probably that was always the problem with Macau. I mean, we are always talking about a population that is transitional in the sense that they move around very fast, not enough to have this sense of identity or person from Macau. I don't know, you tell me. But what about the oldest generations? Do you think this is only a problem with the youngsters, or what is your idea? Thank you.
其實我覺得唔係淨係年輕人咯，因為好多我以自己為例子啦，我身邊好多嘅父母親啦，甚至再長輩再有啲長輩，其實佢哋好多都已經唔係喺澳門出世，而係移民過嚟。咁其實唔單止係青年嘅，其實好多好多本地人 對於澳門可能都冇一個歸屬感，從而更加傳唔到佢哋對於澳門嘅回憶落嚟青少年咯。咁但係我哋希望係青少年呢一代開始先改變，因為佢哋係未有嗰個根深嘅，即係嗰個仲可以改變佢哋嘅思想，比較容易去改。
I don't think this is a problem with just the younger generation. For example, the generation of my parents, or even an older generation, many of them they were not born here in Macau, so they don't have a very strong sense of belonging or their memories or history of being part of Macau. What we want to do is to at least try to change the current younger generation because they are still young. They're still fresh, so it's easier to give them new ideas or to insert a certain mentality to the younger generation. So this is why we want to start with the youths today.
And it's about the identity. Some people they living in Macau, but because our side we are very really Zhuhai. We are Macau people, but they are living in the Zhuhai. Some people they are not identity. They are Macau people also. Even what ages. Yeah, I think it's really special in Macau. This place.
Doutora, não sei. Só mais uma questão, sim.
Ok.
Por favor. Obrigado.
Queria falar na questão da Unesco.
Sim, depois dessa,
Tá bem.
assimilamos tudo.
Eu chamo-me Cândido Azevedo. Não sei se falo inglês, português.
Pode falar português, não há problema.
Mas depois da tradução para o cantonense.
Como preferir, não há problema.
Eu tento o meu inglês, ok?
Está bem.
My English is not so good because it's not from London, it's from South Africa. Anyway, I will try to speak. Well, I'm in charge on this foundation because Dr. Rui Cunha invited me, and I'm organizing every weekend the walking by Macau with history. So, I como é que se diz, conduzo pessoas. I take people with me, visiting the roads, the monuments, everything in Macau, telling them the story. Why this road has this name? Why? Before starting with this program, few years ago, but the pandemic cut during 3 years, I joined some tourist groups with the local guides. And really, I did assist a lot of mistakes of these guides. When they speak about some ruínas de São Paulo, the São Paulo heritage, he has to say, not this is just a temple of the century 16, and okay, let's go for... No, I think the information has to be complete. The ruins of St. Paul's has a big story. We don't need to tell all the story, but we need to say that at least the priest that was prepared there was invited by the emperor in Beijing to be mandarins, to be in charge of the Tribunal of Astronomy, of Mathematics, and things like that. And after go for another road, they do not speak the roads. Many of the roads, very, very special roads, with very special names, and they just pass. Because the information about the cultural heritage, not what the heritage you have in the books, but I'm speaking about the monuments. It's very, very well signalized, identified with the information of the Instituto Cultural, se não me engano.
Cultural Affairs Bureau, yes.
Okay, so, but the people wants to know, even yesterday, I took a group of 20 people with me, telling the story of the town. Of course, before we sit here, half an hour, to say what is Tapsiak, people don't know. Why calls Moha, people don't know. And things like that. And after, the visit is just the Christian and the Chinese old towns. So I think we should prepare that guides that are taking tourists to be a little bit more complete.
Okay, just that. Because I think the heritage, the tangible, the monuments are very well identified. People can read and can understand, but they want something more. And that was the desafio,
The challenge.
the challenge that Dr. Rui Cunha put me when I was working here. Hey, you are a historian. Say the story of the city. And that is what I do. And I invite your organization, if your people speaks English, to join. And you will know the story that many historians from Macau wrote a few centuries ago and a few years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cândido. I'll pass to Dra.
Yeah,
Maria
about
because to answer
the situation
yes,
related to
go ahead.
UNESCO, perhaps cultural institutes can know this better than me. But anyway, I'm from ICOMOS, which also belong to UNESCO. I know I already spoke with people inside ICOMOS about the situation. So the same I said before, let's wait and see. Of course, if later on we see junkets, not junkets, but the machines in the happiness streets and things from the casinos translated to there, of course this will be a nightmare. But up to now, I think the things the things are not perfect. Of course, we already comment this, but let's see what comes next. And then there was no consultation. I believe that afterwards, whenever for the Navy Yards, Cultural Institute will receive the proposals from the stakeholders, and for sure will be submitted to public consultation. At least they will be unveiled, and we will have talks about it. Of course, here, I suggest.
Yes.
Since we get.
Can I make one comment before we
Yes.
end? I'm sorry, as just more than a translator today. It's easy for us to preserve tangible heritage because the building is there, and it's not that easy to knock down a building. Maybe it's an idea or a topic for the next session. Maybe we have the protection of intangible heritage because, as many of you know, I'm a member of Dosi População. We have less than a handful of speakers of patois. I'm trying to pass this knowledge to my kid. So maybe we can also share next time about the protection of intangible heritage, which I think is even more difficult than protecting the tangible heritage that we have today.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Paulo.
they work together.
I don't know, Sally, Hyman wants to still add something about Dr. Cândido, for example. I think because of the time, I will close the session. I think was still many things to discuss here, but one thing is clear today is for the protection of heritage and even the identity of Macau, we need to work together as a whole, right? So the civil society, the cultural associations, the education, the academic side, the participation not only the government or the gaming concessions, even the cultural associations have a responsibility here. I think in the future with this debate will give more clear how we can protect the heritage and how we can also use the intangible heritage to also implement in the heritage sites. So Identity of Macau is part of Macau and the Macau people. So we hope to continue to debate this, of course, in the next session. And hopefully also with many materials today, I think even the presence of the cultural heritage and also the Education Bureau, they will have many elements to take today. And we hope to work with you in the future. And when we have we have the heritage, we have the publications, we have even IPOR, the promotion of the Portuguese language. I think many things here can work clearly and to work as a viable way in the next future for the heritage of Macau in the old neighborhoods. Thank you so much for today. And also I want to thank Dr. Rui Cunha, who is behind there, because to giving us the logistic support and to continue to have this platform to debate many things about the society of Macau. thank you so much for your presence today. Thank you. Vai sai. Obrigado.
Bye.
Obrigado a todos. Obrigado. Obrigado pela.
you